Welcome, listeners, to www.IronRadio.org, the website and podcast for all things strength sports and sports nutrition. With your hosts, Lonnie Lowry.
Remember, Phil is like a gnarled old oak tree held together with scar tissue and bone spurs.
Rob Fortney.
And I'm telling you, the pain that I would suffer was beyond excruciating.
And Phil Stevens.
Do it, Rob. You'll kill all those nerves.
Thanks for listening. Welcome, IronRadio.org listeners. This is Lonnie Lowry. I'm an exercise physiologist, I'm a sports nutritionist, and I'm a former competitive bodybuilder.
And this is Phil Stevens. I run Strength Guild. I also run the Barbell Open, which is coming up again. And, geez, amongst other things. So I'm a powerlifter, Highland Games athlete, and kind of across the board. So
right on. We have just a little bit of news here. I don't have the usual science news, although Phil had one. In fact, you want to talk about that first?
Strength and muscle sport news.
yeah, there's an abstract I got here in front of me that it's from PubMed, and basically it's saying that leucine supplementation may accelerate connective tissue repair. So
okay, leucine.
It's in rats, of course, but and at the end it's saying it warrants more investigation. But they took these rats and basically induced trauma to their tibialis anterior muscle, and then supplemented half of them with leucine and half of them they didn't, and the leucine reduced their neonatal myosin heavy chain. And, after 10 days, there was a marked improvement in those who had leucine, so in the connective tissue repair. So
I think that probably stands to reason, right? If leucine is protein synthetic, why would it only be for, like, actin and myosin in your muscle tissue?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So, and that's what it went into, is that it's not just good for regenerating myofibrils and TA muscle tissue. So, yeah, looking at that, and they're just saying now that, now we need to do more study. So,
okay. That actually segues a little. Let me offer to everyone what we're going to talk about after the break. But we're going to talk about comfort and recovery foods. It's a good time of year. I think fall and winter is a good time for big eats. And I'll start by defining it. And one of the things I want to define is I think strength athletes, muscle athletes, are a little bit more prone to the maybe protein-rich foods for recovery foods, not just like ice cream, that sort of thing. But that's a good example, right? If there's extra leucine, you eat some leucine-rich stuff that actually helps recovery, and it's not just sort of psychological recovery, which is good too. Before that, though, I have two little things. One is a bit of mild bad news, I guess, from Iron Radio perspective. I just got an email from our web server that said, we're sorry to inform you that you can't upload anything to your website for a while until we figure this out. Well, great. Now, it says your website is still online and available, so IronRadio.org is still there. However, this is my shout-out to everybody, and honestly, this is not going to work that well because you'd have to know about it in advance, but we'll use YouTube. YouTube is a great backup. That's why I put our audio on YouTube. I'll try to point that, I'll link that on our usual Facebook on Sunday and all that sort of thing, but YouTube is the backup this week if you have any issues with ironradio.org or iTunes or whatever, because if we don't upload the MP3 audio file effectively to our server, then iTunes and the other podcast catchers, they can't go get it, right? So YouTube might be our recourse until our server kind of gets their heads out of their asses. Next. This is from Paul. We'll just leave it at that. He says, I listen to your podcast regularly and appreciate the reliable scientific basis. I have been lifting for a few years and I consider myself an intermediate, and I'm also pursuing a chiropractic degree. I tweeted about Iron Radio even though it outed me as a meathead to people who usually ask, do you work out? Now they ask, where do you work out? And he says, please send me some swag. And that's how we do it, folks. So that's what we're doing with our fall contest. If you can send out a couple of tweets or make an iTunes review. I know 2 iTunes reviews is hard, but even 1 I think would be fine. We'll send you stuff. Like I said, I've got a little pile of stuff here, mugs, mouse pads. I've got some DVDs and whatnot. So it really depends on how many people contact me. But so our most recent one is Paul. You win, buddy, and we'll send you some stuff. I'll probably send you an email and say, what do you like? You know, you want a mug, you want a mouse pad, what do you like? So it's that easy, you know, everybody. So make some tweets, leave us a review on iTunes, and then just say, hey, you know, I helped. And part of the reason for this, by the way, A, we haven't had a contest in a while, and B, I'm sort of crowdsourcing this, right? Because we don't have a social media director, and none of us really have the time resources because of our jobs to, you know, surf the web all day and, you know, make tweets and posts. And so I do like Twitter. I'm not a complete Twittiot, but anyway, so there it is. Iron Radio contest, web server stuff, a little bit of science. Oh, what about Strength Guild? Now, you said you guys have a meet coming up.
Yeah, we got to meet. Well, it's a week from today, so we got everybody getting ready for meet. I think I've got, I'd have to do a count, but 18 or 20 lifters going down. And it's a meet at JP's place, so he always throws good meets. We support them down there. And, we're bringing a big group down, and this time there's 5 flights I think he has going, and one flight it was an invite-only flight. So he picked the top, I think it was 10 or 7 men and women in the area in like all of the Midwest, and invited them all, and they're all going for cash prizes. So I think it's $3,000.
Oh.
And I have, what do I have? I have 3 or 4 lifters in that flight. So got Dal, who just hit his first 800 squat about 2 weeks ago.
Did he?
In
Nice,
preparation
Dal.
for it. So he's looking to go 800 squat, 800 deadlift from mid-force bench. So if things go right, and then one of my girls might become my first girl to pull 405. So we'll see. Little Whitney is going to be in the 350 to 370 range on squat at 132. So yeah, we got some numbers coming up. And then I got a junior that's coming in, and I think he's in the 148 class. We're opening his deadlift 385 at 148 as a 17-year-old.
These are good numbers, man. You know, maybe we should have them on, you know, like after the meet, especially if they rock the house. We'll say, you know, from your perspective, how'd you do it? You know, and not let them just say, well, I did what Phil said. You know, but
yeah, it's right now it's Dal that's been the toughest. Just that strength level getting up there, and it's managing recovery, you know. And like we wanted to, he had missed an 800 squat twice. So our plan this time was we wanted to take it before we had to do it in the meet. And so we took it about 4 weeks out. And then from there, it's recovering from that. You know, because, you know, you take an 800-pound squat at under 242. He's in the 242 class, but he's not filling it out. That's a big squat. So
right on.
You know, getting recovered from that and getting ready to go. And so he's been fighting some bicep issues for months. So on the bench, so that's kind of it's figuring out where that's going to be at the day of. So, but either way, should have a good meet. So, got several of them looking to. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but Gracie V's having a big meet. It's invite only, and they're giving away $300,000 in cash.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's big numbers for powerlifting. Yeah. Like I don't think anybody's ever heard of those type of numbers. That's total. It's not to one person, but still, I think it's $15,000 if you win the heavyweight division.
Hot damn! Yeah.
Yeah. So starting to see some money come into powerlifting, which is fun. So that's what the big goal for Dal is. You have to be top 5 across all federations to get an invite by December 31st. So we're lifting on December 10th. So if we can get the numbers, you know, try and get an invite to that and go from there. It's a fun time to be a powerlifter right now. You're starting to see, even like a JP's meet, some money going out, you know. And when I was hard at it, you got a plastic trophy, and that's it.
Yeah, you missed the boat.
Yeah, I mean, I got a little wooden plaque somewhere in my garage from winning WPA Worlds, and it's like, that's what you got.
Right.
Congratulations. So.
Yeah, that's the veteran, curse of the veterans, when you're and let's face it, powerlifting was around long before you were competing and that sort of thing. Yeah. But, you're still in you're that sort of tail end of that era where there was, a pat on the back and a piece of plastic,
Yep. So, anyways, it's a fun time to be around. And, we got weightlifters getting ready for meets. And, it's fun times to be at the,
cool.
At the
now,
gym.
Where is JP's meet again, if just refresh people?
In Kansas City.
Kansas City. Okay.
It's in Kansas City. So, and like I said, 5 flights, so it'll be running all day long. I think it starts at 8 or 9 with the first flight. I got people in every flight. So, it'll be a long day. But
what federation is this?
USPA.
Okay, USPA.
So, they're getting pretty big nationally even. So, I mean, them and USAPL are probably the 2 big ones right now. Why? I don't know. It seems to be cyclical. One federation takes over for 3 or 4 years, and then another one comes on board, and people jump ship here and there. But right now, it's USPA is pretty big. So, and they run good meets. It seems like the judging's fair but strict. So, getting pretty popular. So,
gotcha. No, cool. All right, everyone. We might have a little bit shorter episode today. We'll see. We're going to talk about food after the break. So. Let's go to that break, and we'll be back. Hey, listeners, this is Dr. Lonnie Lowry. If you've ever had anyone critique you on your protein intake as part of your weightlifting lifestyle. Oh, you poor meathead. All that extra protein is going to rot your kidneys or weaken your bones or dehydrate you or give you gout or who knows what. There is a book available. You can simply Google CRC Press and Lowry. And what I've done is reach out to experts all over the world and create a book, a single compendium that you can hold up and say, this is why I consume extra protein. This can be very valuable when you're being quote-unquote educated by various professionals on the topic. There's an enormous amount of literature in this book on the safety, the effectiveness, how protein works in cells, the history of protein and weight trainers, much more. So again, please check out CRC Press and Protein and Lowry. You can just Google that. And I do, full disclosure, I do make a small single-digit royalty on the book. But that's not why I did it. I did it so we can all have something, our particular population, to both defend what we do and to inform our nutrition and our eating. Thanks.
Fall and soon winter will be upon us. As the holidays approach and your thoughts turn to giving, please consider your friends here at IronRadio.org. Over the past several years, there have been hundreds of listener comments hoping that Iron Radio stays on the air for years to come. Iron Radio is here for you. But as with any public radio type format, the show is listener supported. That's where you come in. For just $4 per month, you can become a supporting member, keeping your weekly dose of education, experts, and gym talk flowing. Just go to www.ironradio.org and click on the $4 monthly subscribe button near the bottom of the page, or click the donate button at the right of the page for a one-time donation. You are the Iron Brotherhood and Sisterhood. Thanks for helping to create a place for better internet programming for all strength and muscle sports. And happy holidays.
Hi, this is Dr. Lonnie Lowry, and on behalf of Phil and Rob, I'd just like to let listeners know that if you love us or you hate us, we'd like you to leave a comment or perhaps vote for us on iTunes. It helps us out quite a bit on the popularity side of things. You can also follow Dr. Lowry, me, on Twitter. It's Lawnman7 on Twitter if you want to do that. We also have a Facebook page, the Iron Radio listeners page. So whether it's leaving a comment or voting for us or following us on Twitter or Facebook, that would be fantastic. Also, occasionally Rob or myself will write an article for another website, and Phil will as well. So lots of ways to interact, follow us in other media, and vote for us, and keep things going strong on Iron Radio. Thanks.
Like your weekly fix of Iron Radio? In addition to being a popular institute on iTunes, we are also on email. Simply go to www.ironradio.org and sign up for the voluntary email. You'll get a once per week email, no more. That's little more than the show notes and a link to the audio. So go for it.
Daddy.
All right, folks, we are back. It's Phil and Lonnie, and we're going to be talking about some big eats today. We've done other episodes on big eats, but today's focus is more on comfort and recovery foods. Let me define this just a little bit. When I'm talking about recovery foods, these are things that I think either replaces something that's been depleted or either has an anti-inflammatory quality or, could just be calorie load. It could be psychological recovery too. I mean, let's face it, we can't just look at the bio side. This is a biopsycho kind of thing. So things they could have zoochemicals or phytochemicals, maybe some extra sodium. I mean, I was a fan of pizza and that sort of thing, for recovery because of the carbs and some extra sodium. Sometimes you need that, complex carbs. Sometimes some good fats, not necessarily, but I guess my focus here is not just comfort foods like you might see on, like, for example, I got Food Network in front of me here. They have a recipes comfort foods page, and there's some stuff in here that fits, like chicken dumplings and whatnot, but then there's also a lot of sugary stuff, and I think we agree, sugar can be just fine if you're all depleted and you've been overdoing the volume and that sort of thing. But I think the average person might think of comfort foods more like ice cream or mac and cheese and that sort of thing. And I get that. But I think with lifters, I don't know, I think we might be a little bit different in some ways. So let's start with favorite recovery foods. Can you think of your favorite or even top three?
Pizza's a good one, like you said. I mean, I can't count how many times like we'd have a hard session. It's like, let's all go out and get pizza.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes it can hit the spot after a hard training day. Other than that, man, I'm kind of weird. I tend to go towards the steak and with a potato. Like I had a hard day yesterday, and that's what I did last night. I did a big steak, like a 1 pound steak. I did a sweet potato last night, a big salad, and some veggies. And it just it
feels good.
Sticks. It feels good. Yeah, it's different than pizza. It's like I ate a meal.
Yeah.
You get that, that feeling, and it's good food. But I mean, it's all good for you. But I think like just red meat sometimes just is what I crave it and I need it.
Yeah.
It just hits the spot. A chicken breast just does not fill that void. So
that's funny. It's true. Well, leucine, creatine, there's good stuff in there. Calories, way more calories, obviously, than grilled chicken and that sort of thing. You know what? I should apologize, Phil. I didn't even think about with this topic that you're kind of dieting.
Oh, I am.
And I'm going to ask you to talk about your favorite stuff.
That's okay. No, it's all good.
No, yeah, I agree. In our house, there's a lot of red meat focus too. I mean, my wife Kelly's like that too. Sometimes I love, and this is more of a treat kind of thing, but those big specialty burgers, you can get like the big double cheeseburger. You go somewhere like a Red Robin or and I think a lot of listeners know what I'm talking about. They're like there's a blue cheese version. Some of them have like a breakfast, like a over easy egg on top. I don't know if you've ever heard of that stuff. Yeah, that stuff is just so protein, comfy goodness. I love that stuff. What else? I got a list here. Maybe some of this will jog your thinking, Phil. Meat pies. We always talk about that. Guinness meat pies. Oh, I love that stuff. But I'll tell you, if you're out there and you're skinny and like, I can't gain weight, go for the meat pies, baby, because that crust, layers of flour and lard, that'll put some weight on you. And easy to
and
make.
Even spaghetti and things like that,
Spaghetti and meatballs, maybe?
Yeah, spaghetti and a meat sauce or meatballs, and, there's plenty of good food that lifters are different. And that's what people forget. We're a different population. Just because I'm eating the way I am now, it's because I'm trying to go down in weight. But, we can get away and should get away with more if you're looking, especially a performance athlete, versus a bodybuilder. There's it's totally different,
Or volume, like I said, it's one thing to recover, like you were talking about, like Dal from a brutally heavy, low rep squat. Mm-hmm. That's more like central nervous system is fried. Maybe we're more on the psychological comfort then. Like you said, steak and potato may be just great.
Yeah.
As opposed to someone who does lots of volume. And I think some bodybuilders would fit into that depletion category too, because I don't want to pigeonhole bodybuilders that they're the ones that exhaust themselves and they're fatigue seekers and all that, but let's face it, the volume is usually a little higher with those guys.
Yeah.
And like you said, they can get away with something like pumpkin pie, kind of stuff where the average Joe, he's eating that stuff and it's just all going into his love handles.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about this before. It's like you basically take a bodybuilding cycle and a powerlifting cycle and they're flipped. It's kind of what they are. Yeah. Bodybuilders are the furthest out from competition and they're generally going heavy. And, like at least my powerlifters, like we hit a ton of volume when we're way out, and that is our time to build more motor, and then we try and fine tune that motor as we get closer to the meet. And a lot of times my lifters are their leanest and they look their most jacked away from the meet. And I know like Ed Cohn had talked about this and things like that, where he like looked his best the furthest from the meet.
Right, yeah,
because you're doing all that volume, and then that volume goes down, and now you're just looking to move weight, and you don't have near the stimulus. So as you get close, so we pack it on away from the meet, and then tone it down as you get close to the meet, and we're eating to recover, and that's when you start paying attention to. Okay, I need to make sure I'm getting enough vitamins and minerals. I'm eating more berries. I'm eating more fruit. I'm, getting my rest. I'm, things like that starts coming into play.
Speaking of which, pie. This is the time of year for pies. I mentioned pumpkin pie, but berry pies, you touched on berries. I have read some very cool stuff that blueberries, those anthocyanins, the blue coloring, natural blue coloring in blueberries, may have nervous system recovery benefits. So that'd be the kind of stuff. Oh, maybe I should go eat some kind of berry cobbler or something. When I'm feeling like my nervous system is just tanked. Mm-hmm. It's not going to do anything magical. I mean, let's be honest. But it's that kind of phytochemical, PHYTO, right? Plant chemicals that might help with that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a huge sweet person, but pie. If there's a sweet thing, that's my weakness. It's like
me
you can keep your cake. It's freaking dry cake with some frosting. Like, give me a pie. Give me something with substance. So
I agree. Man, you can't beat pie. And like I said, that it's so calorie rich.
Yeah.
It's got to be good for the recovery and that sort of thing. Something else I put on this list too. I don't know if anybody's ever had that. I think this is both some protein and some recovery. Lots of fat for calories too, but fish and chips done right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, when we were in years ago, we were in Britain. I was doing a little lecture at Oxford University there, and there was the fish and chips they had was just rocking. And when we were in Norway, it was the same thing, like right out of the North Atlantic. The big chunks, like you look on the side, and there's big white chunks of protein. It's not just like what you get here in the States, which is essentially like flour and grease with a little sliver of some low quality fish in the middle, but that's really good stuff too. Oh, and you know what else? As I was making this list, I thought about last time I was out at your place. It's a good example, and Kelly and I do this a bit here around town too. But big breakfast foods, omelets. I don't remember the place we went to when we were out to your place. The next morning we went out and we all ate, and I mean just gigantic omelets. You could throw meat and vegetables, but then you get hash browns or sausage gravy. I don't know, bring it. That is that's comfort.
Yeah. No, that's fill you up before you train food there. But you got to give yourself an hour or two after that.
Yeah, two. For sure. Yeah,
So-
nobody's going to go high rep squat after that, immediately.
Yeah, and I'm
after
still
that.
a believer in, I don't understand why it hadn't been done more, the whole feed yourself before the session thing. I see a lot of people come in hungry. And it's one thing I'm dealing with now, but it's just because the diet I'm on, I have to. But
Oh, right, yeah.
it's totally different than, if I can, like 6 months ago on my way, I'd grab a donut or something, and now it's like I get an apple.
Oh, I know. It's not the same.
It's not the same.
No.
But you go in and get it done regardless. But I mean, if I love and I push my lifters to, let's fuel that session. You're going to burn through it anyways. If you don't burn through a donut in your session, you ain't working hard enough.
Oh, for sure.
So it's gonna go. You're gonna cook through that. So
Well, I think there's a really strong nervous system connection between your gut and your brain and the rest of your body. I mean, you just feel way more robust. Like you said, you go have a giant omelet breakfast, or pancakes or sausage gravy and biscuits, stuff like that, as opposed to, like you said, nibbling on an apple or a dry piece of grilled chicken. That's what actually makes, and again, I know you're dieting too, but that's what makes bodybuilding so hard in the last month of a diet, or even 2 months, because you don't have that usual big eats going in, And I agree. I mean, it does seem intuitive, doesn't it? That why would you not eat before? We keep talking about post-workout nutrition, and although that's good too,
Yes.
to me these are both opportunities, though. It seems very logical from your nervous system and even the psychological stuff, right? Their comfort foods are partly comfortable because they flip some kind of satisfaction or comfort switch psychologically too, and heading into a brutal squat session, being ready to rock, it's just so much better than starting from the hole,
No, and I think a lot of it's to blame on the supplement industry because there was such a big push a few years back about how important post-workout was. Post-workout eating and post-workout recovery and this and that. You see a lot of people, they miss that importance of getting enough sleep, getting your mind right, getting fed, and they come into this workout half tanked and then try to fix it after the fact.
Right.
It's, get yourself ready before so you can go in and have a kick-ass session and then worry about after.
Right.
So,
well, let's face it. I mean, if you're well fueled, let's say you get another rep or two across each set. Over time, you're going to get a super training effect from that. You've done more work as opposed to, like you said, trying to repair something that already happened. I don't know, like a poorer performance. Well, all right. Let me ask you. This is a different one, and this is kind of funny. Sometimes I talk with nutrition people and students about this, but. Do you have any discomfort foods, things that you just don't like? You had a bad experience with it, or I'm trying to get at the psychological component of some of this, right? Like there are some foods, and I'll withhold mine for the moment, but there are some things that, just psychologically, you're just like, gross, no way.
Man, I like food.
You don't have any?
The only thing that comes to mind right now, it has nothing. Me and my wife went out for her birthday and our anniversary, and we ate these blue cheese like pub chips. So they were like homemade chips with blue cheese and bacon on them, and they were delicious. But then we both went home, and like she got the flu, and then I'm like, oh, that sucks. And then like 2 hours later, I'm exploding too, and you're puking up blue cheese chips. And so both of us are like, I just can't eat those for a while.
Yeah.
So that'd be the only, and that's from just them coming up. So that's the only thing I can think of right now. Other than that, I mean, no, man, I like food. So I'm not a food racist.
Right. Not a foodist. You don't think you had foodborne illness from that, do you? That sounds like foodborne illness instead of the flu.
Too fast is the problem. Like she had hers right when she got home, and the issue was also like our daughter, like 2 days later, had the same thing.
Oh, so probably viral, yeah.
And so
okay. Well, I can tell you, for me, it's two things. One is raw tomatoes, and this is just weird, but when I was a kid, my mom used to make me eat this like iceberg lettuce salad and slices of raw tomatoes, and I hate those things. I wasn't allowed to go play or anything, so I would do things like I'd throw them under the fridge like a Frisbee. I would do anything I could to make it look like they were gone from my plate, you know. And the other one is cucumbers. Ugh, a gag just thinking about it. And I don't know what that is. Like one of them, I think with the tomatoes, I'm kind of PTSD. Maybe the cucumbers too, you know, because we always had that sort of very generic American type salad. Now people are so creative with salads, and I like a good salad, you know, a bunch of grilled chicken and stuff on it, or pita on the side, or whatever. But yeah, this was just a very standard. Like, here's a couple slices of raw tomato, here's a couple slices of cucumber, and your iceberg lettuce. Eat it all. You know, yuck. And I don't know. It's not like we had any kind of stressful, you know, meal situation growing up except for that. But that's just one of those things. I know those things are good for me. And let's face it, I like tomatoes in other forms. I love tomato sauce. I'll even take like cherry tomatoes and make my own sauces with different things. You know, not just marinara sauce, but I wonder what listeners think about that. I'll open up a thread on our Facebook page and ask everybody if they have certain comfort or discomfort foods. Because it's funny when you ask big groups of people this, some people just light up. Like, they love to start listing their comfort foods. Like I said, there are casseroles, mac and cheese usually high on the list, or ice cream and that sort of thing. Yeah, but I would wager there's a lot of lifters. They do lean toward the stuff like the double cheeseburgers and the big steak, big thick steak, and you know, omelets and I can tell you there's an omelet a place around here. They serve something called the Lost Amigo Rock Gut Omelet, and I'm all about it. It's a little college place next to Kent State University, and they throw what they call yesterday's chili into it, and just heaping mounds of cheese and stuff. And oh yeah, you know, it's so good, so good.
I got one for you that I can never do again. I think we've talked about it before. Canned mackerel. I used to have to eat that when I was a grad student because I didn't have a lot of money. And it was a much cheaper version of huge cans of like salmon. And it had close to the same fat profiles. And it's literally like eating fish bait. I mean, it's disgusting. Yeah. And I'll never do it again. Unless somehow find myself in the poorhouse again. Right. But I mean, unless I am forced to, due to financial reasons, it's just never crossed my mouth again. And I like fish. I like fishy fish. I like salmon, but that stuff is just like old, nasty fish bait.
Right.
And I won't do it.
Yeah.
You know,
like skin there's some of that, and gross.
Yeah,
I mean, I know there's some meat and protein in there too, but
it's not worth it.
Yeah, you are scarred. You're scarred by that. You've mentioned that before. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And that stuff is just bad. I mean, I don't think I'd go fishing with it because I don't want the fish to have to eat that.
Okay, I have one last question for you. This is sort of a segue for the discomfort food thing, but it's alcohol. I think some people will have a drink to relax and that sort of thing. Now, let me set the biology side of this. More than once, I have seen studies. In fact, I was in the lab when one of them happened, where we actually had people come into the exercise physiology lab. We got them good and drunk on something that we considered fairly clean. It was just a vodka, and measured their blood alcohol content, all that. And then we had them do eccentric exercise, so soreness-inducing exercise the next morning, and we did repeat blood draws. Now, imagine how much it would suck to be in that study, right? Because you get pretty rocked the night before, and then at like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, the next morning before classes begin, you're doing eccentric exercise with a catheter in your arm while people are drawing blood from you, and, you know, you're hungover a little bit, you know, but the blood work did suggest there were more damage markers like creatine kinase and different enzymes spilling out of the muscles in the guys who drank the night before versus the people who didn't, you know. Now, obviously, that can't be a double-blind study. You know if you're rocked or not. But so from a tissue level, alcohol is not probably a good idea as far as a recovery food. But what are your thoughts about the role for that, like with relaxing and the psychological side? Because I know you'll have a glass of scotch or whiskey or something. Yeah. And what's your take on that?
Well, I think it's like most things. I think it's, God, it's overused, but in moderation. Yeah. We'll go out and have a drink with dinner, or a glass of wine, a glass of whiskey, or whatever, or a beer. Yeah. I think I can't afford now. Like when I was 20, I could go out and tie one on and train. Now I'm like wrecked for 4 days. You know, if we do
Amen.
that. And it's not worth it. It just ruins like a training week trying to recover from that. It's like I'm dehydrated for a week. I'm this and that. You know, we just don't do it anymore. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
But I don't think going out and having a drink or two is going to harm anything, because you're not going out and getting, you know, if you tested your blood alcohol levels, it's going to be low compared to the people you had going on.
Right.
So,
yeah. Oh, true. Right. Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. I don't know any high level athletes that are just rocked all the time.
Right. Yeah. I had a buddy in college, childhood friend. He used to say, "Hey, it's the secret. It's my extra calories," right? Because, you know, ethanol has 7 calories per gram. That's more calories than proteins and carbs, you know. However, yeah, there's this sort of tissue, I don't want to say dissolving effect, you know, but it's sort of it could be catabolic. And I agree with what you said 100%. And listeners, if you're veterans, you're in your 30s and 40s or beyond, sometimes I've wondered, am I just smarter now? Because like you said, I get so wrecked, I won't, you know, the next day from something I would have done and got up and lifted when I was in my 20s. You know, and I wonder, can my liver not take it, or am I just freaking smarter? You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. So
the other thing about alcohol too, biologically, is people don't realize, but ethanol can increase aromatase activity and potentially raise estrogen levels a little. Now, in the short term, I don't see that doing a whole lot necessarily, because estrogen actually protects against muscle damage, believe it or not. Like you know, we take some of your girls who train really hard or do a big volume session and get really sore, it's going to be harder to make them sore than the guys. And if I did blood draws on them, they wouldn't show the damage markers either. Now, is alcohol going to give guys enough estrogen to do that? No, probably not. And I think most guys wouldn't want that. I mean, you know, I'm immune to muscle soreness, but I have boobs. You know, that's not what most guys want anyway. But I do think it kind of lends itself to the psychology versus biology side, right? Like, could there, like you said, in moderation, you have a drink after dinner or with dinner or something, and you can relax or be social. That might be the pause that you need, that little respite psychologically, that you can then go pick it up again, like you said, as long as you're not getting wrecked and having, you know, more than a half a dozen drinks or something, you know.
And I've dealt with, you know, and that's, I mean, me and my lifters will go out and we'll have a drink.
Yeah.
You know, but it's usually that. But I've dealt and I deal with several clients that are heavy drinkers. And it's not BS that there's a body type to it, man. They hold a lot of weight around the belt line, and it's hard to get off, and they're a little harder to get going, and they generally more sore. I see more achy joints and things like that.
Good point.
I mean, the dieting is much tougher. I mean, when you're putting down that many calories just in alcohol, and then eating too, and that alcohol is, you know, it's burnt before anything else is. So everything else is going to storage, you know, and it's usually getting stored around the waistline. So,
I think a lot of people don't realize one night of fairly heavy drinking, like you said, it metabolizes so fast that you'll end up with fatty liver. Like 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 Americans are pre-diabetic, and one of the features of that is they have what's called fatty liver. But this is more like from alcohol, and I think it would surprise a lot of people. I know it does my students when I say, you know, you go out and you have half a dozen drinks or more, you're going to end up with, like, if we could look inside you, you would have a visibly slightly larger fatty liver. And that's just kind of a gross thought. That doesn't sound healthy at all, you know. I wanted to touch on something you said about joints, though. Any lifters who do like their beer, I had a nice big Guinness last night. Beer is actually much worse for gout. If you have a tendency toward gout, and sometimes people feel it in the first joint of their big toe, but it can be throughout your joints, gouty arthritis. Beer is way worse for that than something like wine, for example. In fact, wine has a lot of those phenols and antioxidants and other things like that. But you know what, I think even from that perspective, the average person might go drink a bunch of sugary, syrupy, alcoholic crap, and I would wager most of our lifters, you know, who listen, they don't choose that when they go drink. You know, like we were saying, hey, you have vodka on the rocks or some whiskey or you know, sometimes Kelly and I will have a glass of red wine, something like that, and that's just a far cry from like it's like the coffee these days. Everything's so sugar, syrup, and for years I actually thought wine is heavy in carbs as grape juice, but no, it's not actually, listeners. It's not at all. I'm not saying there's zero carbs in it, but it's not nearly as sugar loaded as grape juice. So something to think about there too. But. All right, well that's about it. I guess a little bit shorter show this time around, but with fall coming around, it's so easy to be able to recover. I know you guys have a meet, but I would argue a lot of times this is sort of off season for a lot of people. It's a time to grow. It's time to recover. And there's lots of good options out there. So, yeah, I'll open up something on the Facebook page, too, and we'll see, what do you guys think as far as listeners? What do you like for discomfort foods or comfort foods? It's a fun topic, and let's face it, some of these things can really help you recover from all of those perspectives when we were defining stuff. So,
yeah.
Okay, good stuff.
There you go. Have a good weekend, guys.
Hey listeners, have you seen the store at IronRadio.org? There are 3 halls in the store. One for Phil, one for Fortress, and one for myself, Dr. Lowry, and they're thematic. So you can go into our Halls of Iron store and choose based on your goal. If you need something to learn or read or something nutritional, you can look in my store, Lonnie's store. If you want something about injury prevention or competition, then take a look at Phil's Hall of Iron. And if you want something about motivation or daily training, Fortress's Hall has what you're looking for. There are some fun, heroic descriptors as you browse through the store, so we try to make it a little more fun than the average boring online store. And whether you're a novice lifter or someone more experienced, you can take heart that you're not wasting your time. The things that we put in each Hall of Iron are actually based on our own recommendations. Protein powders that we know to be good, knee sleeves, wraps of some kind, things that Fortress uses in his own training. The stuff you see, is good. This way you don't waste time. So check out the Iron Radio store at ironradio.org and let us know what you think on the forums, and certainly you can request products and we will screen them before they go in. So thanks for listening. Iron Radio is accepting donations. If you like what we do, the professors, the scientists, the bodybuilding show promoters, the athletes themselves in powerlifting and bodybuilding, please consider making a donation or maybe buying something from the ironradio.org store. We also are accepting supporting members. So for $4 a month, which is frankly less than the bank sneaks out of your account in fees, you can step up and support a form of sort of public radio for the bodybuilding and powerlifting and strength community. The Iron Radio podcast and all of the audio on ironradio.org is for informational purposes only. If you're interested in starting a diet or exercise program, it's important to check with your physician. Also seek the help of registered dietitians, athletic trainers, and qualified exercise physiologists in order to make the progress that you need.